Okay, so I'd like to welcome our audience here. We're pretty privileged right now to have two wonderful folks from PPG Paints, Misty and Rosa, and they're going to talk to us because right here in Pittsburgh is where colors come from. I don't know if you knew that, but they're with PPG, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. We're going to talk about automotive color, but we also have to talk about architectural color because these are pretty influential on each other. So if you guys could introduce yourselves and maybe talk a little bit, then we'll move into Rosa first, talking about some architectural color. And they'll circle back.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, I'm Misty Yeomans. I am the color styling manager for PPG Automotive for the Americas region. I've been with PPG for 20 years. I've been in a variety of roles, most of them in color, and I really enjoy it. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that PPG is here. We make a lot of coatings for a lot of different surfaces, and we can tell you a little bit about that. But automotive color, there's a lot of interesting things happening. I'm happy to kind of share some of those trends with you today.
Hi, I'm Rosa Colucci. I've been with PPG for 8 years, and I am a color educator, and I have been working in the field with PPG, and I do a lot of work with some of Pittsburgh's most popular destinations and institutions, including Carnegie Mellon University. I do education for architects and designers and speak about our color palette and namely our global color trends.
Okay, so let's start there. Let's talk about color trends in architecture first.
So every year we put out a global color trend and design package, and we work not only in the Americas but all over the world to come up with a global color palette to talk about the design influences that are happening. And we look at things such as the environment, what is going on in design, the runway, how people are living, what their choices are. Is there a pandemic? Is there not a pandemic? World events. All of these things affect what is happening with color and with texture, which is also a part of it. So we put together an amazing program. I'm just going to hold this book up. This is our global color and design trends. And we speak about everything that we do here. So PPG covers not only automotive, but architectural, consumer electronics, and aerospace. So many programs we work in. It's very exciting. And this book talks about all that, and I teach about it.
I've looked through this book. Actually, this is a really cool book. Can people find this book? Where can you look at it?
Well, we don't really give this book away, but what we do give away to our customers, we have so many toys. We love toys at PPG. This Global Color Trends brochure just kind of talks about the colors that we have and what is trending out in the marketplace. So we always pick a color of the year from our palette. And we always have 3 palettes that talk about the different trends that are happening and what our consumers are looking towards. So as you can see, our color of the year for 2024 is Limitless. So here it is in the architectural setting. And here it is, Misty, in automotive.
Yeah, so architectural is our consumer-facing color business that you may be more familiar with. So we have our products at our PPG Paint stores and then also at Home Depot and Walmart. As well as at our dealer locations in the architectural business. So that's the one that's most consumer-facing that you might recognize PPG from. We also have the sponsorship with the PPG Paints Arena with Penguins and our NHL partnership. But yeah, in automotive and in aerospace, consumer electronics, we also do cookware and bakeware. So we have, those are more like what they call B2B, business-to-business relationships. So where we're taking these, Rosa mentioned our trend program that we do each year. We take those and share that out and make a version of that for each of the industries that we support. And so like Rosa said, we take in automotive the inspiration that we see in our trend report and create a version of that for our automotive manufacturers as inspiration of where color is going for automotive in the future. So our color of the year is Limitless for 2024. And when you look at it in an automotive version, we created this as a solid color. And solid color finishes are really popular. We've seen them come back in popularity. You saw them really popular like back in the 50s, and you're starting to see it all kind of being cyclical. The solids are popular again. When we say solid color, it means that there's no mica or a metallic, no type of effect in it. So the color, you could describe it as maybe flat. And it doesn't refer to the finish, or in architectural terms, the sheen. Another trend that you see in automotive that's really popular is the matte finish, where there isn't a shiny surface, if you will, in kind of layman's terms. So this is an actual regular gloss, but it's a solid color. But yes, this is a popular space. Even in these soft yellows, we're seeing pastels really being popular in automotive again. So if you can say like things are cyclical and something comes back into fashion, it's sometimes happens even in automotive.
That's pretty cool. Cut for a minute. Okay, guys, if you wouldn't mind, it's really tough to concentrate while you guys are talking. Like it's brutal. Oh, do we want to adjust this mic too?
No, that's okay. Good. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that might be. Is check your sound.
Hello, can you hear me? Is it
Yes.
better?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So you ready to return to this?
Yes.
We're ready to go back now.
Okay.
So we're going back to more 50s pastels? Is this what I'm hearing?
Well, they're a new version of pastels, but pastels as a kind of color family, yeah, we're seeing a lot of interest in that. The light blues and greens that are in pastel tones. We, like as I said, styled this soft yellow as well. But we've seen that come back in popularity. Also, people are really looking to personalize their vehicles, and so they want to express themselves through the styling. So we're seeing a lot of two-tone color application. That might even just be like a white roof or a black roof on a different color body. And then also some of the other things that we're seeing people do, not so much in OEM, which is where I'm sitting, which is original equipment manufacturer. So I'm working on the colors that are coming off the production line, aftermarket, or in what we consider our refinish business, which is where you're doing the maybe spraying off one-off, right? You're creating a unique color for your vehicle. You can do a lot more with that, and you can also do paint films, which is something else that we in the last year did a partnership on, because we're seeing a lot of interest in paint film and being able to achieve some of the things that it has some benefits to it. Like one of the things that's a benefit in paint film is that you can do a matte finish and not have some of the concerns that we have in the traditional coating. If you do a matte finish on traditional coating, where you're reducing the sheen or the gloss level on the vehicle in an OEM setting, you can sometimes have a little bit of care instructions that go with it. So we discourage you going to a car wash, for example, because it can buff that up. So if you really want to do a matte, a paint film is one way that we're seeing the market kind of go in that direction.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. So who decides? Who makes the decision? You guys come up with the ideas.
Yeah.
Who eventually makes that decision to...
What will be offered?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's available to the consumer? Yeah, so that's the manufacturer's decision, but the way that we work with our customers are the designers at the OEMs, the original manufacturers, so your automakers. They come to us and they work similar to what Rosa's seeing in architectural. The designers all do the same thing. They create mood boards and they come to us and say, this is the inspiration, this is what we want to capture in the aesthetic of the color. And these are some of our goals. They may be very specific about the type of effect they want, or they may be very specific about the color exactly, or what it does. It gets a lot more technical when we come into automotive, but this is considered the face, and when you drop it to a 90 degree, that's considered a flop. And sometimes a color is designed to do something different. The color will shift, or it'll get darker when it's on the flop. And in reality, on a vehicle, that's where it curves down over the side of a vehicle. That's where you're going to see that behavior come out. So the designers have an idea that's built around what their goal is, of who their consumer is, what their brand is, what their market ideas are, what region they're taking that vehicle to, whether it's in Americas or China or wherever. And so they come to us with that idea. We also will help them figure out, make that color happen. And then also while meeting all of the specifications, which are very rigorous, to make sure that, the color is going to, and the coating is going to perform the way that we want. And we create a color show every year, like Rosa said, and I brought some examples here today if anybody wants to see them afterwards, but we do a yearly color show. And so there's about 40 colors there where we're giving ideas to the designers on where we see the color spaces going, the effects that are popular. to help guide them and give them good starting points as they move forward. So that's really where we partner with our customers to make kind of the magic happen. And we have a lot of talented technical teams around the world that can help us like make the science happen.
So going off what you're saying about going back to colors that were popular in the mid-century, we're seeing mid-century modern come to the bubble up to the surface with architectural as well. So not only in furniture, but in paint colors. So if you ever watched a television show from like the 50s or 60s, you saw a lot of mid-century modern furniture, very clean lines, very spare pops of colors, a lot of rust, a lot of green, a lot of teal, and a lot of yellow. So all of that is coming around again. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that the generation that is now doing a lot of paint purchases and really doing a lot of remodeling, they grew up in gray and white houses. They grew up with no color whatsoever, the millennials. And they really have never lived in color. Whereas if you are from the 50 to 70-year-old bracket, you have lived with color, so you gravitated to grays. But now that new generation coming up, buying homes, they want color because they never lived with it. So for them, yellow, green, teal, burgundy, it's all brand new to them. So this is why we're seeing the gravitation. And also a lot of the shapes that you're seeing is also another thing that here, and I'm just holding this up, where we have a lot of arches going on and a lot of really interesting architectural designs because we're not doing that flat black, white, gray that was happening before. So a lot of creativity.
Yeah, and Rosa brings up a good point about generational differences and kind of what's influencing the choices today. And it's also a lot about, we're predicting a lot of color coming forward. Customers are ready, our customers and the consumers in general are ready for more color. And as you see the natural world and the physical world and also the digital world merge together going forward, consumers are expecting that those things are going to be very seamless, that the technological advances will be seamlessly integrated into your vehicle or your experience in hospitality when you travel or whenever you're on a plane or whenever you're in your home. The expectation is that ongoing that those things are more integrated and it's very seamless. But with that capability, it's going to explode with color and possibilities because you can already start to see kind of how AI is influencing what's available and how much things are shifting. And so that's where we're kind of saying, like, we expect a lot more color to come out. Our consumers are looking for it. They're ready to put it into their home, like Rosa said, and we're expecting, vehicle colors to also reflect that as well.
So as you're both, in parallel courses, you're both seeing the same trends in architectural and in automotive.
Yeah.
So how do you share that back? If somebody's coming to you from, say, the automotive or architectural side that's pretty influential and wants to do something, hey, we've got racing.
Love it.
We're to race. So how do you integrate that? I mean, do you guys have conversations about this is a trend that we're looking at, or maybe you shouldn't go down that path? How do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we put this program together that Rosa was talking about. We have the book and things here. We do that through an annual meeting that we have in January where all the color experts within PPG from all the different business units that support color, so architectural, automotive, aerospace, consumer electronics, and that industrial application, we come together to create this report. And so we talk about that. We come in there, and that's kind of a differentiator for PPG. It's something that makes us unique because we're doing our own forecasting, and we understand our customers. We also understand the importance of understanding regional differences and putting those in where they're needed, and sometimes we want a global perspective. So we have the ability to kind of layer those and get those answers for our customers of whether it's more of a global trend or maybe it's a customer that's based here but they're designing something for someone in China. So they'll ask me, could you get me a report from China? So we're really able through this forecasting team that we're so interconnected that it's a really nice way for us to also keep our connections quick internally, so that we can kind of help our customers get what they need where they need it, whether it's in what we would consider one business unit versus the other, or sometimes it's just much more seamless and we're able to just interact.
So we had talked about before in the United States, the heads of design are selecting the colors. Mm-hmm. But in Europe, the consumer actually there's a lot more customized ordering in automotive. Do those trends influence it back here? Or how does that compare, I guess?
Yeah.
You understand my question?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So it's a little bit different in Americas versus Europe with automotive and kind of how we mainly approach consumer buying. So consumers in the U.S., many of them are used to going to a dealership lot and buying a car there. Now, you do know that you can order one, and you may be able to get a color that's not even on the dealer lot, and you may have to wait a little bit for it. In general, that is the model that is in Europe and has for a long time been. One of the things that shifted during the pandemic was that was an opportunity to kind of look at that differently. So we see a lot of conversation happening in the automotive industry about how will the OEM, the manufacturer, how are they going to work with the dealerships going forward as things change and how marketing vehicles change. We see some of the OEMs here going direct to consumers on websites where you can go on their website and order it. And that's a little bit different. That's something that we maybe didn't have historically here in Americas. But in Europe, the consumers are used to that. They're used to going and ordering their car and waiting for it. But we're kind of a little more on demand here, and we're used to that dealership network. So that's one of the conversations that are happening in our region a little bit more than anywhere else, because we do have this different model that wasn't as prominent in other regions. And so we see a little bit of a shift happening coming out of the pandemic from that. And that's also the influence of, technology that's available, the marketing experience, as you see, even in, and Rosa knows this as well, like in retail locations, even your experience in shopping online for like other things, right? Like the whole experience of being able to drive up and get your order or have it delivered to your house really exponentially jumped during the pandemic. So we're seeing all those learnings kind of being blended across all the industries that we support. And in automotive, the manufacturers are saying, do we still want to, do we want to offer vehicles online? Do we do it through a dealership? That's all being like kind of re-looked at. And then in Europe, the consumers have always been used to doing that, where you go and order it. So here you're used to, the colors that are available to you. Maybe if you only order or buy off of the dealership lot, you're only, your selection's going to be what's there. And that's what the dealership and the automotive manufacturer have determined they would provide as, the lot that's available. Then you can go in and order a color that's also available. But that collection of colors or that palette of colors by brand and model and package even are predetermined by the OEM and their designers based on their own research and things. We just help them make it happen. We make their vision happen.
So it's interesting about talking about the digital space, and on a simpler level, like we have 11 countries and 35 stylists working in 11 countries at that global meeting. But before that happens in America, I would be one of the color educators that would be putting together a palette and a mood board about what I'm seeing happening in the marketplace. Then within the United States, we have our own meeting and we hash out what yellows, what the greens are, why, and we come to a conclusion. We bubble our color of the year up, and that goes to the color stylist that works in the United States for architectural, and then Misty covers automotive, and then they both go to the meeting, the global meeting, where each stylist, of the 35 stylists come together, and then that happens on a global level. So there's a lot of discussion. There is a lot of process of elimination. It looks at everything that is going on. And interestingly, in the digital space, I know because I just love cars, and I grew up in a car family. My brother built muscle cars. My cousin built muscle cars. So I love cars. So when I go onto a website and I look at new cars, I like to click through, because now you can actually click the color you want and get a blow up of the actual color. And you're actually choosing on a new vehicle what you want the car to look like. And because the technology is so forward and the definition of our computer screens are so sharp, you can actually zoom in there and see a 3D modeling of that car that you're going to order. Now, how that's translating to architectural, we have now with AI, consumers and designers that are going into AI and saying, I'd like to see this building in a European cottage style, and then they're picking the colors and picking the style, and AI is creating that. But I've worked in the virtual space for 8 years, where I've taken buildings and spaces and digitally painted them, colored them, and presented to the customer what this new space is going to look like. So if you're doing that in a home, a living room, that's not really something we're going to digitally paint, because we really aren't, that's a small space. But if I'm working in a historic church and I have a cathedral that I'm working on, that has to be presented in a digital space. And then I will actually show like real paint samples, colors, so we can see how everything interacts. But I'm really looking forward to the future, not only in your industry, but in what I'm doing and how AI and also the technology, because people are getting their virtual technology at home now. So just to see how the consumer is going to start driving these choices and what they want to see. I think that the consumer is going to really be diving deeper into color because now they're going to be able to imagine it in a virtual world and they're not going to be afraid of it, which is something that was always in the architectural space for as long as I've been working. They're afraid to put the red on the wall. They're afraid to put the yellow on the wall. What is it going to look like? But now with AR and AI and virtual reality, they're going to be able to actually see it and somewhat feel what it feels like to be in that space. So that alone is going to move the color needle for our customers to just expand their own mind.
Thank you, because that was, you've answered my question, and we're pretty much out of time for our interview, but that was one of my questions that I wanted to get to. So that was wonderful. I wanted to kind of learn about what trends were coming in, and you nailed it.
Well, I'm going to cover one trend really quick because Misty and I are discussing this. In architecture, we're also seeing this in automotive. We have a term that's happening now called color drenching, where we are seeing color being applied to ceilings and walls. So you're walking into a space, and the space will be painted. For instance, there's a library that I love, like this color here is goldfish. This is the PPG color on our palette. So the walls and the ceiling all painted, the trim, everything. Now what this does is this makes the walls and the ceiling completely recede and makes the space feel more expansive and gives a focus to what you want to focus. Maybe there's a piano or books in the room. Now we're also seeing color drenching in a different way in automotive, and so Misty's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've seen vehicles where they're coloring the cars on the body or the bumper, and that's called color harmony for us. That's where we work to make sure that regardless of what that surface is, that color matches whether it's applied to steel or plastic or whatever. And that's something that we work and we're good at, right? It's important that that matches. But then that's also an opportunity when you're not doing color drenching, it's an opportunity to create a unique styling. So you can do different color wheels, you can do different color bumpers. And I brought some examples, but there's even like some matte finish textures for plastic parts like bumpers that have textures and that they're a different effect. There's a matte finish to these. And that's where you can kind of get creative and get those color combinations going and really like pair this with a black body and a green bumper, and it just gives you some creative freedom. And the same with wheel. There's all kinds of interesting wheel colors that we can do, and you can also do different effects on like the plastic inserts. So as much as you can drape the color in color, you can also use these places to be able to accent and do different colors to differentiate, because the color of the vehicle is how people like to express themselves.
Wow. We covered a lot of information. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yes, thank you.
We need to do this some more next year and take a deeper dive into some of these things.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Can I have a round of applause?
Thank you all.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thank you for supporting the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. It's a great cause, and we are so happy to have been a part of it. Thank you for all your work as well.
Oh,
Thanks.
it's all because of you guys.